The Farm Bill at play again. There are less than 2 weeks for Congress to pass a new bill before the current one expires. Digital anchor Keith Grant has a breakdown of how we got here. Keith?
Rachel, 11 days until the current Farm Bill expires. This time, a budget battle prevents the bill from passing. Now, the last Farm Bill Congress passed was back in 2018. They were supposed to pass another 5-year bill last year, but Congress couldn't get it passed in time. Their temporary solution was to extend that 2018 Farm Bill by a year. With the current time crunch, many safety net programs are at risk of losing funding like SNAP and farm commodity support programs. On the Senate floor yesterday, Jerry Moran pushing for his colleagues to pass the Farm Bill this year.
We need a farm bill in place, even if it's the current one, but the current one is insufficient to meet the needs of the disaster that is occurring in the incomes of farmers across the country.
Moran wants immediate support for farmers, which he says would also include supplemental funding. Rachel?
Keith.